something just dropped on Netflix, which is causing quite a stir. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, let's talk about the 10 best movies you need to watch right now on Netflix. Because if you're going to fall down a binge-watching rabbit hole, it might as well be with the best of the best. The Electric State. Okay. So, The Electric State just dropped on Netflix. And if you're remotely into post-apocalyptic sci-fi with big old robots, stop whatever you're doing and throw this on your list, like right now. This movie stars Millie Bobby Brown, yes, Stranger Things Millie, playing this teenager who's crossing a dystopian wasteland to find her younger brother. But she's not alone. She's got this weird, clunky robot chasing her wherever she goes. This robot is tied to a way bigger mystery that I obviously won't spoil. The movie's based on this graphic novel by Simon Stalenhag. You might recognize the name from Tales from the Loop. Basically, he's that guy who paints dreamy, retro-futuristic hellscapes. But you're not ready for this next part. Guess who the directors of this movie are? The Russo brothers. Yeah, the Avengers. Endgame guys. So you can have high hopes, and being honest, they don't disappoint with this movie. The world in this movie is cooked, like crashed drones just rotting in the desert, abandoned tech everywhere. And we gotta say, Millie really carries this thing. It feels like she's in her element and is effortlessly morphed into her character. So look, The Electric State is beautiful, sad, weird, hopeful, and it really makes you feel so many things. Definitely one of the more unique things Netflix has dropped this year. But this might be lukewarm in front of this next movie that literally landed a lady in jail, Con Mum. So this one's really wild. Netflix dropped this true crime documentary called Con Mum, and it is absolutely insane. This one follows a British woman named Dion, who shows up in 2020 claiming to be the long-lost biological mother of pastry chef Graham Hornigold. And not just claiming it, she spins this whole story about being terminally ill, tied to Southeast Asian royalty, and promising him a big, fat inheritance. Spoiler alert, she's the one draining his bank account. Over $0,000 gone, wiped out. And while Graham's trying to be a good son and reconnect, she's out here destroying his life from the inside. But here's where it gets even wilder. Because after the documentary aired, people started recognizing her, and a few days later, she gets arrested in Singapore. Yep, charged with multiple counts of fraud involving over $200,000. Victims started coming out of the woodwork. Turns out she wasn't just finessing her son, she had a whole scam empire going on. The documentary is about family, trust, manipulation, and obviously drama. So yeah, Con Mum is pretty wild, but add it to your wish list because this one's gonna stick with you. But if you're in the mood for a little romance, you can't miss this next Netflix release. The Life List. So, The Life List is the latest tearjerker that will make you laugh, cry, then maybe cry again. It's based on the best-selling novel by Lori Nelson Spielman, and it kicks off with this woman who is in her mid-30s and a little stuck in her routine. She suddenly finds herself tasked with completing a list of goals she made back when she was 16. Now, normally, that would just be a cute self-help thing. Except, no. This is part of her inheritance. Like, legally, no list, no money. The list itself is very bizarre, but cute. Things like fall in love, make a difference, be someone's hero. Stuff that sounds easy until you actually try to do it as a grown-up. The thing that really stands out in this movie is the acting, of course. The lead, Sophia Carson, absolutely nails it. And she's super relatable too. Visually, it's one of those cozy, aesthetically pleasing films where every shot could be a Pinterest board. Warm lighting, handwritten notes, autumn leaves falling in slow motion. You get the idea. It knows what it is, and it leans into it hard. But don't let the heartwarming vibes fool you. This one sneaks in the emotional gut punches when you least expect it. So if you're into second chances, personal growth arcs, and romance, this movie is definitely worth a watch. And now we're heading to probably the most talked about movie on Netflix this year. Yeah, that one. One of Them Days. One of Them Days is a buddy comedy starring Keke Palmer, who's basically a legend, and SZA, yes, that SZA, making her acting debut. And honestly, she's hilarious. The two played Drew and Alyssa, Best friends and roommates in LA just trying to get by. But when Alyssa's deadbeat boyfriend blows their rent money, they've got one wild day to come up with $1,500 before their lives turn upside down. Now, the setup might sound simple, but the way this movie moves, it's anything but simple. It's basically a comedy of errors, with blood donations, job interviews, and even pawn shop deals. It's funny, but not in a forced way. The laughs hit, but so do the moments where you realize life really sucks sometimes. The movie's cast is also stacked, with Lil Rel Howery, Maude Apatow, Janelle James, and even Cat Williams showing up to round things out. It's one of those films that actually understands its characters, instead of turning them into caricatures. And now that you've added one of them days into your list, we've got another great recommendation for you, and this one is a spin-off. Plankton, the movie. Even though most spin-off movies feel like cash grabs with a bigger marketing budget than script, Plankton the movie actually does something kind of brilliant. It takes one of the most consistently funny background characters in the SpongeBob universe and gives him a full story arc, and the result is way better than you'd expect. Now, this isn't just an extended episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. It's an actual standalone film that dives into Plankton's backstory, his messed up motivations, and yes, his latest attempt at stealing the Krabby Patty formula. But what really surprised me is how much heart this movie has. The plot kicks off when Plankton finds out he's not the only plankton in the sea. There's a whole secret society of planktons living in the Mariana Trench, and apparently, he was the one who left them behind. Plankton sees this as an opportunity to rally them into a brainy rebellion against Mr. Krabs and the entire capitalist seafood system. But of course, things go sideways fast. There's a flashback scene that honestly had no business being that emotional, and the animation is absolutely gorgeous. The underwater scenes have this neon glow that almost hypnotizes you. And yeah, all your favorites show up. SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, they're here, but they're supporting characters this time, and that's what makes it work. This is Plankton's time to shine, and honestly, no one steals his thunder. So if you grew up watching SpongeBob and figured this would just be another lazy studio cash-in, you might want to give Plankton the movie a shot. And with that, let's move on to our next comedy, Kinda Pregnant. Even though romantic comedies usually follow the same formula, Kinda Pregnant finds a way to flip the whole thing. Amy Schumer plays Lainey, a school teacher in her 40s, who finds out her best friend just got pregnant. And instead of being happy for her, like a normal, functioning adult, Lainey decides the best way to deal with her own life spiraling is to fake a pregnancy herself. She straight up buys a fake belly and lets the lie grow from there. She starts bonding with actual expectant moms, gets treated like a queen by people who think she's creating life, and even manages to attract a genuinely nice guy played by Will Forte, who, you guessed it, thinks she's actually pregnant. The movie leans into how ridiculous it all is, but it's not just played for cheap laughs. There's this underlying sadness to Lainey that makes the whole thing hit harder than expected. So yeah, if you're looking for something that's funny, but also a little uncomfortable in all the right ways, Kinda Pregnant is worth checking out. It's awkward, it's raw, and somehow it's relatable. And on the subject of comedies, we've got another banger for you. Quite literally. Banger. So the Banger movie just dropped on Netflix, and turns out it might just be the weirdest flex of Vincent Cassel's career. And I mean that in a good way. This one's set in France and stars Cassel as Scorpex, a washed-up DJ still clinging to the one track he dropped like 15 years ago. Except now, nobody remembers his name, his gear's outdated, and his rent is late. That's when things get weird. Scorpex gets approached by a deadpan government agent named Rose, who might actually be our favorite character in the movie, and she's from the DGSI, France's internal security agency. They want him to go undercover and spy on a new hotshot DJ named Vestax, who's been blowing up the scene and might be linked to organized crime. So now you've got this ridiculous setup, a washed-up DJ trying to sabotage a rival while also acting like some kind of a pop star. The movie is funny, chaotic, but also manages to comment on the state of fame, ego, and the music industry while never taking taking itself too seriously. But it's not your typical comedy, it's more deadpan and absurd. Castle goes all in here. And honestly, just watching him play that insane character is worth every minute. Now, if you're tired of comedies, there's something that recently dropped on Netflix, and it's action-packed. Back in Action. Back in Action brings Cameron Diaz out of retirement, and that right there is all the reason you need to watch it. Jamie Foxx is playing the lead with Cameron, and the plot is pretty straightforward. Two ex-CIA agents, now a married couple living undercover in the suburbs, are forced back into their old lives when their past quite literally punches them in the face. What starts as a typical date night spirals into a full-on international spy operation, except now they've got kids, soccer practice, and a very confused babysitter. Fox and Diaz have great chemistry, and honestly, it's just fun to see Diaz back on screen again. She handles the stunts and comedic timing like she never left. There's a lot of fun banter, some solid hand-to-hand combat, and even Glenn Close pops in with a sniper rifle. What's cool about Back in Action is that it doesn't try to be overly gritty or self-serious. It knows what it is, a fast-paced spy flick with jokes, gadgets, and explosions, so it plays at its strengths. Now, to be fair, not everything hits perfectly. The plot gets a little bloated toward the end, like it's trying to set up a franchise. But hey, they need to make money too. The movie is well worth your time, expect it to entertain you, and it definitely will. But there's also a hidden gem of a movie on Netflix that not a lot of people are talking about. La Dolce Villa. La Dolce Villa is an interesting take on finding love abroad. Here's the premise. Eric, a recently widowed American, heads to the Italian countryside to stop his daughter from wasting her inheritance on some dusty, half-collapsing villa. His plan is to talk some sense into her, get back to his quiet life, and keep everything under control. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Instead, Eric ends up falling for the villa, the town, and of course, the extremely charming local mayor, Francesca. And between you and me, she's pretty fire. Their chemistry is surprisingly solid, and the movie leans into that slow burn, enemies to lover situation in a really satisfying way. Visually, it's ridiculous, in the best possible way. Every scene looks like a travel commercial. Golden sunsets, olive groves, beautiful cobblestone streets. It's like watching a modern-day Bridgerton spin-off. There's also this quiet little grief subplot underneath. Eric's still dealing with losing his wife, and the film actually takes that seriously without turning into a downer. It adds just enough emotional weight to make the ending land. Now, fair warning, this does follow the American Finds Love Abroad formula to a T. So if you're looking for twists or anything edgy, this isn't that. But if you want something comforting, beautiful, and a little bit cheesy in the best possible way, La Dolce Villa delivers. And we've kept our best movie for the last, The Witcher spin-off. The Witcher, Sirens of the Deep. The Witcher, Sires of the Deep might be the best thing Netflix has done with the Witcher universe, and you'll know it if you're a fan of the book. It's an hour-and-a-half animated film that's straight to the point with monster hunting, lots of swords, and just enough ethical dilemmas to make you forget about that one season that went off the rails. So the movie begins when Geralt gets summoned to a coastal village to investigate a series of deaths at sea. Everyone's whispering about sirens and sea creatures, and of course, the villagers are already blaming the local underwater tribe for everything. Typical. Geralt ends up in the middle of a centuries-old conflict between humans and merpeople, and surprise, neither side is completely innocent. He's got to figure out who's lying, who's killing, and what's worth saving in the middle of all this. Doug Cockle returns as the voice of Geralt, and hearing that gravelly, again, will give you goosebumps. What's cool here is the animation style. It's dark and moody, but not too stylized to be distracting. The fight choreography is actually pretty great, especially the underwater scenes, which somehow don't feel floaty or awkward, like most animated water battles these days are. So if you've played the games, or watched The Witcher, this one is gonna hit just the spot. Which movie is your favorite one in 2025 so far? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe for the most honest movie recs. Bye-bye!